What is happening there, J Gamer Dude here, and Take2 is going out to the back shed, getting a shotgun, and taking out two studios under their umbrella, more specifically Roll7 and Intercept Games. Now, these two studios are particularly notable for a couple of reasons. Firstly, the fact that Rollerdrome and Kerbal Space Program are a couple of games that were released by these studios, and Rollerdrome is actually a really, really good game with a neat art style, though I don't imagine it would have sold a lot. And Kerbal Space Program 2, which, I mean, people were really hyped. Again, they also made Kerbal Space Program 1, but, I digress. It's incredibly popular and a huge game nonetheless. Now, with that being said, though, it's worth pointing out that they did lay off 5% of its workforce earlier on, and this may very well be part of those layoffs. But it seems like what this tells me, especially with the type of games that we're dealing with, and just how well they did from a critical point of view, is that with the gaming landscape and the changes, it's not enough to make good games, but it's not enough to make highly profitable games. You need to make good games that are also highly profitable. But the problem is that depending on what game you look at, some games or genres just aren't viable in that particular type of situation. I mean, if you look at something like, say, Rollerdrome, which isn't in, even though from the screenshot you can look at it, it is a rollerblading game with a really good story, but it's not like something along the lines of a Jet Set Radio, for example. It looks like it might be, but it isn't. And I suppose when you look at games like that, you look at games like Kerbal Space Program, they don't really vibe with a wider audience, to be completely honest. Like, how many people do you think would expect to play Kerbal Space Program besides people who are already into it? How do you get more people into it? And that really is the question. You can't keep constantly having growth unless you make something that is very, for lack of a better term, generic. And I feel like that's kind of why Sony's been making a lot of third-person over-the-shoulder games, because action adventure is all, it seems to be more sort of like the vanilla flavor than most other genres or games that we kind of see in our sort of day-to-day lives. So as I said before, you need to make a game that is good and profitable. But the problem is that it kind of conflicts with itself at the same time, because if you want to make something profitable, you need to add DLCs, microtransactions, and things like along those lines. However, that will diminish the value that the game has, and the game is not considered good anymore, because, say for example, if you have to grind for something but you can just purchase it through real money, then the question then becomes, why on earth would I grind for it when I can pay for it? But at the same time, that then diminishes the value of me even wanting to play the game in the first place. So there's a bit of a paradox here regarding that idea that even if games do well, it's well in terms of critical reception, it's still just not going to be enough, and that's really unfortunate. In saying that, we're also talking about Take2, which is a company that is making which is making or publishing owns Rockstar Games, so they are publishing GTA 6 next year, which is going to make a hell of a lot of money. On top of all of these layoffs, they are buying Borderlands maker Gearbox for $460 million. And this definitely just feels like it is a move to appease shareholders, similar to the fact that they are actually cutting 5% of their workforce, which I did make a video about this, which I'll link into the in the description below. But yeah, same idea applies. I feel like it's just, this isn't a good look for people outside the industry, but for people who own stocks in the company within the industry. It feels like, it's really just for the stakeholders. I feel like at this point there's nothing more to it than that. You can make a quality game, you can make a ton of money, but if it doesn't make enough ton of money, it just will not seem like a viable project or an idea or product at all. So this is just really sad. It sucks to see these guys go. I think Ollie Ollie games were also made here by Roll7, and that was an exceptionally good side-scrolling skateboarding game back when stuff like Tony Hawk was not doing particularly well, when we got some really rubbish games like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, for example. And then we didn't get a good game until Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2, which was a remake of those games. And because of stuff that happened at Activision, we now no longer will be getting a 3+4, even though that was originally going to be made. I feel like the concept of capitalism is actually killing game projects that we wish we had. Is it fair to say that? Because I was just talking about Tony Hawk's 1+2, but because of capitalism and the companies wanting to make money, especially Activision, they are now no longer working on 3+4 and instead putting those teams onto more Call of Duty, because they know Call of Duty will sell, and it always does. And now even under Microsoft, will that still be the case is the question, and that still also is very much a sort of wait and see at the moment. I don't know, I'm just having a bit of a thought experiment at the moment, because I'm also working on a video regarding, the concept of DEI and how that's affecting games at the moment and why people are angry about it. How it doesn't at the same time make sense. Maybe that's just me, but with all of that said and done, let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel. I'm aiming for 200 subs by the end of the year, and with all that said and done, I will upload every day, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.